அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய அன்பார்ந்த மதிய வணக்கம். My greetings to all of you. Post lunch session number 1. It's a great gathering. Maybe the architects of future India, the architects of new India. You are leaders in your own right, doing great things, running amazing companies, employing lots of people. If India people are talking about great potential in the offing, it is because of many people sitting in this room that world looks at India very differently now. We are living in India's century for the next 25 years. It's a great privilege to be part of this forum, to talk to you. And I'm very sure leadership by its very nature is very unique. Every person can come to this mic. He can talk about his leadership or her leadership, and very different points will come out. But I think I've been invited here to talk about my journey in the last 1 decade or so, and probably take out some things which I felt is right for me, which I think could be useful to you, and probably put it out on the forum. I once again thank Ivo Coimbatore for inviting me, and Yoga Prakash ji for the very gracious introduction, and people who put this concept together for 2-day conclave starting here, where it is enriching your brain, and tomorrow in Isha Coimbatore, where it is a spiritual awakening. It is going to be for most of you, especially for the people who are going through for the first time and experiencing Shivratri in Isha, especially under the Vellingiri hills. Friends, like most of you, I was also very clueless till about 2025 what to do with life. Trying to experiment a bit here, experiment a bit there, trying to see the world as it is, trying to see where do I fit into this world. Do I fit in here? Do I fit in there? How can I maximize what I want to do? But coming from a small village in Karur district, which had about 30 houses, the first 20 years is more about a village life. You don't get that much opportunity to go out and see the world. At class 12, if somebody had asked me what do I want to become, I was very clear I wanted to become an engineer. If somebody has asked me why do I want to become an engineer, I was very clear I don't want to be a doctor because I can't study that much. Engineering looked to be an easier option for me. That is the maximum kind of mental exposure I had. Then again, for engineering, where do you want to study? What do you want to study? No answers. Just go to the counseling, see the seats. Wherever it is opening up, take that seat, go and study. That's how I landed in Coimbatore, because a friend of mine who studied 12th standard with me got a college here, PhD Tech. So I thought I'll also get PhD Tech, took a seat. I didn't even know what I wanted to study. I came to mechanic. That is how I defined my first 21 years of life. Just sailing the way the life was taking me there. But college life, I always believe, is the time when we start experimenting, we start questioning. Exposure is more, it opens up too much to us. 5 years spent in Coimbatore made me very clear that I don't want to be an engineer, very funnily. At 12th class, I wanted to be an engineer because I felt this is the easiest route. I don't want to be a doctor. 5 years spending in Coimbatore, I was very clear I don't want to be an engineer. I could do anything apart from being an engineer. I took a break after my engineering. When all the classmates around me, they were able to get a job, 100% placements, able to go settle down somewhere. But somehow I took some courage from my heart. I said, this 1 year is going to be the defining year for me. Let me take this year out, travel, see people, meet people, talk to people. Try and find what do I really want. That should be something in my heart which I haven't discovered till now. Let me try and find what it is. That 1 year is possibly the greatest 1 year in my last 38 years after I was born, which taught me so many things, which told me this is the direction I have to take. Then later I went to Rakesh ji's hometown, Lucknow, to do my MBA. Then seeing Lucknow, coming from a state like Tamil Nadu and seeing Lucknow in 2008, and that was a big shocker to me. Conservative state, going there, such a huge population, seeing poverty, it made me to question a lot of my life's values. What I want to be, I want to be some kind of an entrepreneur in between. After the break I took, wanted to start a company, employ people, give livelihood to a lot of people, possibly work at the ground level in a much more stabilized way. But going to Lucknow taught me the service of life is much bigger, it's much greater. The life's calling is somewhere lying there in the hinterlands of India, which took me slowly to civil service. 9 years as a cop. As they said, I was at DCP Bangalore, then I chose to quit, and now in politics. So this is what I thought I'll cover in the next 20 minutes. Then possibly any questions you have, I'll take in the next 20 minutes. They've given me 45 minutes time. Sir and ladies here, I firmly believe life is of two components before it becomes a larger life. The first component I would say is about the inward journey, where we all are forced to take that inward journey. It could be the first 20 years, 25 years, knowingly, unknowingly, we all take that inward journey. That is the time many of our qualities, characters and attitudes get polished. And we learn, we get exposed. Many of the things that we are taught are put to test. We might say this is wrong, this is right, this is workable, this is not workable. Once that inward journey happens, then the external journey happens. The second journey maybe starts at 25, 30, depending on which stages of life we are. It starts with work, it starts with first employment, it starts with the company, where you serve others. You start paying somebody, or you start taking money from somebody, you make a product. 20 years, you go sell it out, you do all sorts of things. Then I believe once the inward journey is complete, once the external journey is complete, then possibly we start looking at bigger things in life. Many things don't matter to us. We start looking at life very differently. We start looking at poverty very differently. We start looking at people around us very differently. We start looking every single thing that has made us till then, we start looking at things very differently. Possibly I would say I'm somewhere between finished my inward journey and possibly at the last fagend of my external journey, and probably looking at everything that was brought me here with a very different sets of eyes and lens. Maybe in the inward journey, when somebody talks about external journey, we might not appreciate it, understand it, because we are too clouded in what we do in life. Things matter to us, material things matter to us, we want to do it at that point of time. Possibly when we are in the external journey of about 20 years, again many things don't matter to us. That is why when I started, I said, the spiritual awakening that might happen to you tomorrow, in Isha, under the Amavasya day, where lakhs of people gather there, you find that energy. I'm sure that might open up the spiritual eye to many of you. It might push you in that external journey very faster. The policing life for me was that external journey. Till then what I did was more the internal. I wanted to do things for myself. I wanted to do this because I couldn't do that. I wanted to come to Coimbatore because it's a better college. My friend chose to go there. Then I took that break because I didn't want to do this. I wanted to do something great, something big, where I can make a difference in the world, but never knew what it was. And it was more about that discovery. Policing, again, was a choice that I carefully made, that I wanted to do this. The 9 years that I spent as a police officer in different parts of Karnataka, coastal Karnataka, the southern part, the Bangalore, the cosmopolitan, every single day was an awakening. Every single day was a challenge, because normally when you confront death on a daily basis, many of the things that you see about life, you start questioning it. Fate, you question it. You ask, why did this guy die? Why did not that guy die? This guy was at the wrong place, wrong time, so he died. This guy was at the right place, right time, so he didn't die, especially in the case of accidents and murders and all sorts of horrible things that happen in our life. As a police officer, you confront it for 9 years. Though you are happy you are doing justice, though you are happy that you are solving cases, though you are happy that you are part of the larger criminal justice system, but there comes a time when you ask yourself the question, why do crimes happen in the first place? Is there a way I can solve those crimes or make sure the crimes don't happen in the first place? So that shifted me away from policing towards a foundation, towards politics, where I think I can make sure I can create a better world. I can create a world where the human potential is fully realized, the country's potential is fully realized. For many people, they keep asking me the question, Rakeshji was asking me, why did you become a cop, and why did you quit cop, and what are you doing now, politics and everything? This is the answer that I can give. I'm not sure many people are not convinced. I'm also very sure that many people are convinced, but this is what I am. As I said, leadership journey is very innate to us. It's all certain qualities that we have based on the exposure and everything. I think you are also in a way lucky, because we are having this conversation at the age and time when we can change a lot of things that belongs to us. The mindset, the attitude, a lot of things that we can change, because the mind is always churning. The inward journey is always churning, so that is pushing you to the external journey that is also churning, that will push you to a larger things. That is why when we see entrepreneurs in India also, one of my dear friends, Sridhar Vembu, who runs Zoho, when I asked him the other day, what motivated him to come, leave US and everything and come and set up a shop in Tenkasi? He said, look, I've finished this, I've done this, whatever needs to be achieved, I've achieved it. Now I see life very differently. I see poverty very differently. I see village life very differently. I see tier 2 city very differently. I was very surprised. Both of us are in different parts of journey. I'm a very small man doing something in some part of the life. And he is the so-called big man in terms of money, in terms of employment. He is also doing something, but somehow the life is miraculously converging for both of us. We are at different points of time in terms of age, but both of us are looking at life in a very similar spectrum. So that made us friends. We make it a point to meet whenever is available in Chennai, or when I make it a point to go to Tenkasi, to have that life conversation with them. One thing I've realized, anybody who consciously does his inward journey, acquire whatever things he want to acquire for him, unconsciously does that external journey also, both when it merges, then the big thing in life happens, where your life really is in the service of people who matter to you. So I really hope and pray that many entrepreneurs who are here, you might create billion-dollar companies, give employments to 1,000 in the coming years, coming months, coming decades, in the coming century. But there is a certain point of time where I hope and pray that it converges with the country, it converges with the path the country is taking, it converges with the population of this great nation who might want you in different roles at different points of time, your experience. I hope and pray it all happens for you at certain points of time. That is our vision prayer. And it is also great, at a very young age, as I said, you are part of this great forum where you get to meet all varieties and different sets of people. You get to meet billionaires, you get to meet NGO people, you get to meet people like me, you get to meet people like you who are in a startup journey, maybe running a company 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, whatever is the valuation. It is good when you get this kind of exposure. A lot of churning happens to you, and probably you will try and seek what you actually wanted to be. I was reading a very interesting book recently where they said the American presidents from John F. Kennedy till the senior Bush, the 7 American presidents, out of that 6 presidents served in World War II, and 1 president was also a war president. 7 presidents were uniform. So the arc of America, the greatness of America, it started from John F. Kennedy, the World War II generation, probably we call the best generation of the Americans. It reached possibly its peak by the George Bush generation. Then possibly it started coming down because of wars and this and that, the moral issues and everything. In that very interesting book, very beautifully they have narrated. Normally when people sit in this highest position of power, where they decide a country's trajectory, where they try and do what they want to do, it is that experience in serving for others that makes them to make better decisions. So the book was particularly very, very fascinating analysis from Kennedy era, then it went into different presidential era, then the Jimmy Carter's era, then it went to the George Bush era. Overall, they're trying to weave a narrative that people who achieve certain positions where they are supposed to serve the society, before that they start putting them in the service of others. That is why many countries, they have designed that 1, 2, 3 years you serve in the army, you serve in some cadet corps, or you serve somewhere, and possibly that will make you a well-rounded individual. When you come out at 45, 50, 55, when you start occupying positions of power, use that responsibly. Now it took about 70 years for us, post-independence, to bring this Agnipath now. Agnipath, to make the army as a 3-year business. You go there, you train for 1.5 years, you serve for 3 years, total 4.5, 5 years, you're out. You come at 21, 22, which means every year 90,000 people who get selected, and you retain about 1/4 of them in the army, which is about 22,500. All the 67,500 people, every year they come out of the army, 1.5 years of service and 3 years of practice, 4.5 years. You get this many people. Imagine 2 years, it is going to be almost 1,35,000. Imagine 20 years, it is going to be 13 lakh. This kind of people are getting back into the society. The expectation is they will occupy positions of power. It could be a business organization, it could be even a Rotary Club, it could be a Lions Club, it could be a local parent-teacher association chapter president. They go and occupy all these different forums across India. Just imagine the kind of orbit India is getting into. The problem we have is the quality of public leadership. The private leadership is fantastic in our country, which is growing on its own, learning from a different era when we wanted everything, when we were looking at the West for everything. Somehow the private business leadership of India is on a great trajectory. That is why in the Fortune 500 companies, we have 70 leaders in the world out of 500 who are Indian origin. The top guys, just yesterday you open it, YouTube, CEO is going to be some guy. Every week you open it is going to be an Indian origin guy. Probably studied a school year, studied a college year, probably did his masters in US, but somehow the formative years was in India. So private leadership is fantastic. But if you look at the public leadership, it's horrible. You can't have one Narendra Modi, one Prime Minister sitting in Delhi to change the fortunes of this country. The public leadership means the councillors, the panchayat presidents. The public leadership means people who sit in very influential positions across close to about 14, 15 lakh elected positions in India. That is very horrible. You find people without moral character, people without true north compass. They all sit in all these kinds of things. But somehow all these people, they drive 80% of the country. As a private player, whatever you do, you have a certain influence on the employees that you have. Maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000, maybe 100,000. Beyond that, you might have your influence in the circle. But the public leadership is the big task that we have for the next 25 years. When the Honorable Prime Minister calls our nation, in the next 25 years, it is going to be the Amrit Kal of India. Starting from 2022 till about 2047, 25 years, he says, we are going to do a lot of great things, miraculous things. 11th in the economic size in 2014, we are 5 now. Very soon we should overtake Germany and Japan. We should go to 3. Then possibly 20, 35, 40, early 40s, we should overtake China. Then possibly China or US was number 1, 2047. He has put a marker that we are there. We would be the number 1 country in the world in terms of the numbers. But to reach there, I personally believe it is the public leadership that matters. People who sit in influential positions, right from your chairman, right from your panchayat president, right from your councillor, right up to the prime minister. That is the challenge we have in front of us. The young people, like many of you, should take public service as a calling after a point of time. Whenever you believe your external journey starts at 35, at 40, at 38, I don't know, whatever is the time that is comfortable, when the trigger happens, you all should look at public service as a calling. And possibly public service also for 10 to 20 years, you all fight for that post, you wanted this, you wanted that, you want to be an MLA, you want to be an MP, whatever it is. Then possibly after a point of time, the bigger things start happening, where your ego is not there, it is almost dissolved. You completely merge with yourself. You want to do what is right for the country. So this is the key challenge I see. In terms of private thing, there's nothing to say. The leadership is fantastic, truly potential country. Great numbers we are doing. Whatever numbers we are doing, we are doing very, very great. That is why EO Coimbatore, when somebody has written in that WhatsApp chat, what do you want to learn from this? Somebody said, I want to learn the India's growth story. I'm sure it is either a friend from UAE or Guatemala or somebody who has come from abroad. They are thinking, what is India's growth story? Suddenly this country that was like a beggar in the US, where we wanted the wheat in 1969-70 or 1991, the crisis we had, we went to Bank of England and got the gold. At different point of time, we are looking at countries across the world for us. Suddenly this country is dabbling in world affairs. The French president wants India to negotiate between Russia and Ukraine, and a president from South America, he thinks India, UN and one more country should negotiate between Russia and Ukraine. And 470 planes ordered 3 days back for Air India, where at the same meeting, the American president sitting in one part of the meeting, appreciating the Honorable Prime Minister for placing an order, 220 planes to Boeing. And within 30 minutes, you have the French president in the next meeting with our Honorable PM, appreciating our PM and the Air India for placing the second order of 250 Airbus orders. So everywhere you're seeing it. It is not about generating employment in our country. Now we are looking at generating employment in other countries. 470 planes. It is 5 to 7 year deal. You are generating employment in US, generating employment in France. Everybody is looking this as India's century. So definitely we are doing well leadership wise, private entrepreneurial energy wise. The only problem I foresee is the public leadership that we have. For that, not enough good quality, mentally agile, morally apt, and more importantly, ramrod, straight, honest people. Somehow they are not looking public service as an option. This really worries our country. This really worries a lot of us, because the current politics is designed only to be incremental. It can only do 0.5%, it can only do 1%, it can only do 2%. But right now, India needs a big explosion in the public leadership as well. The mindset change, the shift in thinking, the big box thinking outside the box thinking. The whole economy has to be thought in a very different way, because that is one thing they have told me also. Do you think Tamil Nadu is regressing? Somebody has written in the paper that I have to talk today. If you look at Rakesh ji's state, UP, Napoleon Bonaparte once said, never wake up China. If China wakes up, the world will tremble. Allow China to sleep. So there was a very conscious strategy we kept in the world to allow China to sleep for a long time, so that China did not create any trouble for us. China got woken up after the Cultural Revolution. You all know what happened in the last 60, 70 years. The same thing applied for UP for a long time. Post-independence, the unsaid rule was never allow UP to wake up, let it sleep. Now as a state with 24.5 crore population, woken up, 11 functioning airports, 6-lane, 8-lane expressways where a fighter jet lands. The number of startups registered in 2022 more than Tamil Nadu. You are number 2 in the country. Before Tamil Nadu, we are number 3. The per capita GST collection, you have jumped 6 places in the last 1 year. And the number of girls going for higher education, you have jumped 15 percentage point in the last 3 years. If you look at the numbers across the country with some states, you look at it, it is staring in the eye. What is happening in some states, the miraculous transformation they are doing, the potential they are generating, and who is going to hit that $1 trillion economy as a state. As a country, we are $3.1 trillion. Is it the Maharashtra? Is it the UP? Is it Tamil Nadu? Which state is going to hit? So that, in a way, it excites me, delights me as an Indian, because UP is kicking, doing better. It worries me as a Tamilian. Where are we now? Even now, if you go to the public conversation, it's about whether North Indians should enter Tamil Nadu, whether they should be kept outside Tamil Nadu. That is a public conversation that is right now happening in one of the by-elections in our state now. This is supposedly the top 3 major conversations. Should North Indians be inside? Should they be in Tirupur? Should they be in here? Look at the quality of thinking. What are we thinking now when other countries are thinking in terms of rocket science, in terms of ChatGPT, what you are talking of? We are talking about whether North Indians should come, take our jobs and all those things. So this is a point of concern, and we have to do much, much better. That is because the quality of public service in Tamil Nadu has hit the rock bottom. And elections, which we say the pinnacle of democracy, where we want people to vote for better leaders, to sit in positions of power. When we have average leaders, again you see, again right now the friends are here. If you see the election happening in Tamil Nadu, especially in Erode, where a by-election is happening, you see 1,000 rupee per day, 2,000 rupee per day. Probably this election would be the costliest election in Indian history after 1947, where the cost of each voter is approximated anywhere between 15,000 to 22,000. So the total money paid for the vote, the total money spent during the canvassing. So where are we heading? So this will go out. Whatever you do as a great man, you want to start a business. If somebody is asking you to pay 20% cut money to start your startup in Tamil Nadu, UP has overtaken us. Because to do a thing, you want a 20% cut money. When will it happen? So I hope and pray the important leaders, my time for 20 minutes is over. The leaders sitting in this room, inward journey, outward journey, whichever journey you are in, there is this journey that is much more important than both the journeys, where it converges. You start seeing a larger picture, where our life is put in the service of our country. We start doing things without ego. We start merging ourselves with our country, where we help our people. Even now, the extreme poverty in India is still less than 1%, but it is still there. Many people go to bed hungry. It is still there. It is not that we have come out of the woods. We are talking of reaching US 25 years from now, but the US per capita income is at $65,000. We are at $2,900 now. Just imagine 30 times leap we have to do in the next 25 years. Lot of things to do, lot of things to catch up. But to do that, it is important that quality leadership slowly starts shifting from the private sector to the public sector at different points of time, where you start taking a call. You start competing for post. It could be a panchayat president, it could be a councillor, it could be something apart from your day job. Before I end, I would like to end with a very famous quote that is more like my moral compass I have. Theodore Roosevelt left American presidency in 1909. In 1910, he wrote a very beautiful essay called Citizenship and Republic. And this essay's name you might not recollect, but if I can say the word, the man in the arena, many of you might know the Theodore Roosevelt's man in the arena quote, where he says, who matters in this world? Who matters as a citizen? He says, it is not the man who's a critic who matters. It is not a man who keeps commenting on the strong man when he fumbles. They don't matter. It is not the man who keeps commenting on the doer of deeds. He doesn't matter. He further argues, who matters is the man who gets into the arena, takes the mud, starts the fight with the sweat, with the blood, and who doesn't belong to the timid and the cold souls, and for whom it is equally important either he knows victory or he knows defeat, but not the spectator who sits outside, who neither knows victory nor knows defeat. I think that is important to our country now. Though it was written in 1910, good 112 years before, but we need players in the arena, not worried about system, just go there, fight it out over a point of time. Victory comes, system will get better. Defeat comes, the system will get better. That is one thing as a politician, I want to leave this message out to you. Young politicians should come in. Some of the greatest changes in the world has happened because young people have thought differently. Greta Thunberg has thought differently. Malala Yousafzai has thought differently. The Black Lives Matter, who started as less than 30 years age, the Me Too movement, less than 35 years age. So these are the people who are changing the world in terms of revolutionized thinking. So young people can bring that thing out of the box. We can change the world, but provided that we also step out and look at larger things in life, especially a public service where you come, you make that little incremental difference here and there, so that by 2047 we achieve what we intend to do. So thank you so much for inviting me. I'm not sure whether I spoke what you wanted to hear, but this is something that is in the heart for me for a long time. That inward, outward journey, you hope you realize it at some point of time, and you look at the larger picture where both resonate, converge, and then your service of life becomes service of people, where the ego is absolutely not there, and probably the country benefits from all the exposure you had, all the education you had, all the great things you have done at this point of time. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.